at one at least, from OWS. We support the call of Occupy Oakland for a national day of protest, a general strike on November 2nd, 2011. So there is going to be attempted a general strike in New York City as well, and Occupy Wall Street is hoping to make that a national event as of November 2nd. Back with Michael Moore in our third story in the countdown tonight, after claiming Occupy was anti-Semitic, racist, a front for the Muslim Brotherhood, and Acorn under a new name. The newest attack is that you can't believe Occupy because some of those who've supported it, like Michael or Alec Baldwin or David Letterman or me, make a nice living. Michael's posted at michaelmoore.com and Daily Kos an account of his rags to riches trajectory of his career that followed his breakthrough movie, Roger and Me, about GM and Flint in 1989. The latter recounts how sudden wealth and good fortune affects or doesn't affect class consciousness and what some people have called class warfare. Skeptics and critics of Michael, and there are a few, wonder how a man with wealth can stay true to his roots and not just go with the money flow. And before I talk about you or me, let's talk about the sophistry inculcated into this.
Right.
Anybody supporting people who make less money than they do is either lying or a hypocrite. Huh?
Right. No, it'd be like if, because I've never had sex with a man, therefore, what are you doing supporting gay marriage?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, women got the right to vote because only men actually could vote for that amendment to give women the right to vote. I mean, historically, obviously, people come from all places in support of the things they support. And frankly, you know, what I've said is that, you know, they ridicule or Kanye West or others for going down there. And I'm thinking, you know, first of all, he doesn't have to be down there. He's down there actually working against his own personal financial interests. Correct. Because he's down there supporting a tax increase on him. And if anything, he should be thanked for that. Because generally what the system does is as soon as they give you money, you're supposed to get in line, be part of the club, and parrot what you're supposed to say, and so I think what drives them crazy about people like you or me or David Letterman or whatever, you know, it's an odd argument to make on their end because they're all about money, and then if one of us comes from the other side and we do well, it seems a little hypocritical on their part. But I think what they're really worried about is that you or I, with money, are dangerous people,
right?
Because
we can't be bought because we already have the money,
and nobody can come down here and say in the next segment, Keith, we don't want you to do that, what you were going to do, because I don't, you know, where I'm from in Michigan, we call it, you know, FU money, basically, because it allows you to have that freedom, but. It's an odd thing. It often comes from people who obviously have a gazillion dollars themselves. And
well, yeah. What was that all about? That was you with Piers Morgan, this guy on CNN the other night. You have to confess that it's bleeding obvious you're part of the 1%. I believe the British would call this guy a ponce, I believe is the term, which is kind of this guy posing as an intelligent man. He makes $12 million a year. His question to you was, why aren't you admitting you're part of the 1%?
Yeah. Well, it's I was confused by what the whole point of that was, because I thought he was trying to give me a compliment. I thought he was saying, well, hey, you know, you do well, and you know, you're down there in the rain in Zuccotti Park.
No.
It wasn't a compliment, maybe.
Is there a problem here? These people assume that if you're involved in something like this or anything else that is trying to help people who don't have that level of money, frankly, if that's you want to define it in terms of this amount or not having this amount, that anybody who does this is somehow necessarily anti-capitalism? Anti-capitalism is the wrong umbrella to it. It's the idea that weighted capitalism, fixed capitalism, in which there's no way for anybody who's not already got money to make money, is what everybody's opposed to.
It's a rigged game right now. Exactly. It's a rigged casino where only the top are getting away with this, and everybody else really doesn't have a chance to better. I mean, you showed it last night, the stagnation of wages over the last 30 years. Nobody's seen an increase in that. Many people have seen a decrease, a loss of benefits, et cetera. And look, I feel very blessed and very privileged. And you know, some years I have really good years because the movie does well. Other years, like last year, I didn't make a movie or write a book. So, I didn't do that well. But
one thing you wrote about in the Post, in the letter, was that your adherence to this comes from what, Sunday school and Bible class and the little fundamental golden rule things. Isn't it that what it is?
Yes, that we were taught that we're going to be judged by how we treat the least among us. And that if you do have the good fortune smile upon you, you have to do even more.
Right.
You know, so you have a greater responsibility to stand up for those who are the have-nots. And you know, I knew the folk singer Harry Chapin in the final years of his life. I don't know if do you remember?
Of course.
Yes. Yeah. And he did you know, 200 concerts a year. 100 of them were benefits. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, well, my philosophy is one for me, one for the other guy. And that kind of stuck with me, you know, my whole life. And I just thought, boy, what a great way to live if I ever get lucky enough to do that. And so right away with Roger and me, my first film, I gave away half the money and proudly paid my taxes and told my guy, the tax guy, the accountant dude, the H&R Block. Oh, no commercials.
Yes, right.
I said no deductions other than the mortgage. Yeah. No deductions. I want to pay my full share here because I am proud to be an American and I am proud to spend that money as a citizen of this country. And right now, if any conservative is watching that just made their head explode.
Right.
Because
what? You can't make money off that without those deductions? What are you, crazy?
Right. Yes. And they hate having to pay for and fund this great country.
Yeah, exactly. Except for them.
Yeah.
Except for the parts they use.
Except for the parts that they use, right? And the parts that protect them, the parts that are not investigating them, the parts that are not regulating their Wall Street.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No.
Exactly.
They're all for that.
Michael Moore, who eventually will sit down here and will do a literary-type interview with me on his great new sort of autobiography, Here Comes Trouble, and we'll finish up on the subject of Felix Unger money at some point, money. Now headed for Oakland. Safe travels, and give my best to everybody there.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you.
Not